Hi everyone. So the thing about my podcast is that it doesn't really have a specific topic or theme. It's just sort of me talking. Literally, quite literally, at least for now, it's just me on my phone doing a voice note. The first time that I had the inkling of a feeling to start a podcast was in 2020 during the pandemic. It was a very transformative year for a lot of people, obviously. It was a time period unlike any other in history where the world literally stopped. And we all had to kind of like go not only within our homes physically and go inside physically, but go kind of inside metaphorically within ourselves. And, you know, as for me, I was a track runner for most of my younger life, and my career had ended that year due to COVID. It was my senior year. I didn't expect for it to end when it did, but that was done. School was about to be done, and I started to run track when I was probably like 12, 13, and from that age up until 22, it was my life. So about 10 years. As a human, you want to explore. As a human, we have so many layers that make up who we are. And in the world that we live in today, it's kind of hard to figure out who you really are. Going to school and being watered down in ways like that. Society coming in and kind of like telling you how you should be, what you should look like. And, as a kid, you just are very gullible and you don't know a lot. So, right now I'm 26, and the past 4 years of my life have been even more so, more transformative, more revealing, just really discovering more about myself, but also the world around me and God. So, when I first wanted to start a podcast, it was going to be talking about that, just life, I think my first podcast was going to be touching on how your purpose often is linked to your passion, which makes sense that that's what I was wanting to talk about, since at that time I was trying to figure out what exactly my purpose was and kind of like rediscovering passions that I once had as a kid. Because as a young girl, when I was like 9, 10, 11, I was in my room playing guitar, making different art pieces, looking at fashion magazines, trying to design my own clothes, sketch something out, just very creative. And while I was running, I put all that on pause. I had a really good coach in high school, and he was an Olympian himself, and he really encouraged all of his athletes, or he really motivated all of his athletes to strive for Olympic dreams. So yeah, there's no theme to this podcast really. This is usually random. Like, I don't really plan it before I go into it. I kind of just start talking. And today, because of just where I am in my life, I want to talk about late bloomers. I feel like late bloomers are often deemed to be insignificant, forgotten, disregarded. But I think that there's something really beautiful about being a late bloomer. You can find that even within nature, the deeper the roots, and things may not always seem as they appear. Or you can even take the turtle versus the rabbit. Slow and steady wins the race, is what they say. The older I get, I'm finding that a lot of us as humans, as a collective, we go through the same things. I mean, it's kind of hard to avoid. We all are living in the same world at the same time. In the same time, there's the same things that are happening that we all have to figure out and sift through, just like the pandemic. And I want to just talk to people who have gotten a word from God, who feel like they're meant to do something, but it hasn't quite shown up yet in their lives. You might be in your waiting season, and I just want to encourage those people that you weren't given that vision, that you weren't given that word just for any reason. There's purpose to it, and we just have to trust that things are unfolding in divine timing. We just have to trust that things will come together when they're meant to. And in the waiting season, we have to remain patient, and we have to remember what was spoken to us. To go beyond the comparison of nature and trees and stuff, let's just talk about us as humans. Think about the people that peaked in high school. God bless them, but I'm sure a lot of us looked around. While we were in high school, we looked at those people and we felt, wow, they've got it all together. Wow, they're so much cooler. But this life thing is really long, and there's a time and a place for everything. And I just want to encourage you that if you're in your waiting season, like me, to just hold on, remember the promise, remember the vision, and try your best to show up every day, despite your circumstances. And really just trust that even if your circumstances are awful and you hate it and you just feel like life sucks, trust that you're where you're meant to be. And I know, trust me, this is easier said than done. Along my journey, there were times where I was sleeping in my car, where I didn't have food to eat, where I was questioning God, where I felt like all my faith was gone, where I shaved my head because of how much I was losing it, lost so much weight, skinny, you could see my bones. And even now, looking back, I can't necessarily pinpoint why exactly I was in those circumstances. I can't pinpoint why exactly that was my life or why I was in that situation. But what I do know is from the moment that my journey started, after 2020, and I had to find myself and kind of like start a new life in a sense, I've always felt this way, that God is molding me, that God is preparing me. And so that's all I can chalk it up to. If you're in isolation, hey, my friend, I've been there, I'm still there. I haven't had friends in years, pretty much since my track career. But I know, and I know God knows, that I want and I long for a community of like-minded people who I know I have genuine connection with. So we wait and we trust and we show up each day. That's all that we can do. Me and my husband say this all the time. We can only do what we can do. What more can you do? If you feel like you've exhausted all your options, if you feel like there's nowhere else to turn, just stay still and try your best to remain as calm as possible and trust that God is watching out for you and that there's something greater on the other side, far beyond what we could even imagine. And I know I'm still in it. I literally had a breakdown the other day. It's not easy, but I have a feeling that there's a lot of other people who are in the same boat, and I wanted to talk about it, If you think about even just life itself, you could technically have your breakthrough this year, next year, in a week, in a month, whatever. But the thing about life is, even though many people say it's short, it's quite long. And you could break through and then have another slump and then, fall into a whole nother season of life and struggle and then kind of do it all over again. But beyond that, there's something on the other end of everything that we know to be. This life, this reality that is so thick, inescapable, that is the grand reward. Should we choose to have faith and be saved by His grace, we can receive it. We have to run the race with endurance to achieve the crown. So it's not just in this waiting season. It's not just this time in your life. It's a it's a marathon and not a sprint, okay? It's a marathon, okay? There's so much that's not in our control. It's like, why even bother? Just kind of let go. And again, show up as best as you can each day. Try your best each day and leave it at that. There's nothing more you can do. You can't, you, me, your mom, your dad, your brother, your sister can't control when the sun comes up, when the sun sets, who you meet, who you don't meet. If tomorrow you end up falling and hurting your leg, or getting in an accident, or winning the lottery, you just move through life and you see what it gives you. See the cards that you're dealt, and you try your best with those cards, okay? Capiche? Let's try our best to stay patient. And if you have a relationship with God, lean into that even more. If you don't, He's always there waiting for us to open ourselves to Him. So try to tap in. He loves you. And I love y'all. It's just the beginning. I know it's only a few people listening right now, but I love y'all. And I hope that y'all are well. Be well, be blessed, and stay patient.